The snow had been falling for 3 hours without pause. Lyra sat motionless in her wheelchair at the edge of the stone driveway, her silver hair catching flakes of white like a forgotten bride left at the altar of winter. The temperature had dropped well below freezing, but she barely flinched. Cold, for her kind, was something you learned to carry, like shame, like silence, like the particular weight of being unwanted. She had come to this human neighborhood in the outskirts of Millbrook following a signal, a beacon her people used when seeking refuge after the crossing. The address had been passed to her by a dying elder, House 14, Creston Lane. They will help. But when she had arrived, exhausted, her chair low on power and her body trembling from the journey, the family at number 14 had taken one look at her blue skin and pointed ears and slammed the door so hard the wreath had fallen off. Elf kind don't belong on human streets, the man had spat through the curtain. Try the wasteland camps. That's where your people go. She hadn't argued. She never did anymore. So Lyra had simply rolled her chair to the edge of their property and stopped. She didn't know where to go. The power cell on her wheelchair was at 11%. Her communicator had died somewhere on the mountain road. She had no map, no contact, no name, only the distant glow of house lights that felt, in this moment, like stars she could never reach. She bowed her head and let the snow cover her. This is fine, she told herself. This is just how it ends. 3 houses down, Ethan Marsh was washing dishes when he noticed the blue glow. He almost missed it. Just a flicker through the frosted kitchen window, something between the color of ice and electricity. He turned off the tap and leaned forward, squinting through the glass. At first he thought it was a broken streetlight. Then he saw the shape. A figure. Seated. Still. In the middle of the snowstorm. He grabbed his coat. Ethan was not a hero. He was a 32-year-old structural engineer who had moved to Creston Lane 6 months ago after a divorce, who kept mostly to himself, who sometimes forgot to eat dinner and always forgot to call his mother back. He was not brave in the dramatic sense. But he had been raised by a woman who said if you see someone cold, you bring them in, and that lesson had wired itself somewhere deep and permanent inside him. He crossed the snow-covered lawn in long strides, heart hammering. Up close, she was unlike anything he had ever seen. Blue skin, silver hair, pointed ears half buried under fallen snow, strange luminous markings on her cheeks. Her eyes were closed. Her gloved hands lay open in her lap like an offering no one had taken. Hey! His voice came out softer than he intended. Hey, can you hear me? Lyra's eyes opened slowly. They were the color of a winter sky at 4 in the morning, grey-blue, exhausted, and completely without hope. She stared at him for a long moment, waiting for the disgust, the command to leave, the door slamming again in her face. It didn't come. You're freezing, Ethan said simply. Come inside. She blinked. You don't, I'm not, she stopped. Started again. I'm an elf. I know, he said. I have a heater. Come on. Inside, the warmth hit her like a wall of grace. Ethan set her chair near the fireplace and disappeared into the kitchen without asking her a single invasive question. No, where are you from, or why are you here, or how many of you are there? He simply returned with a mug of something hot and placed it carefully in her hands, wrapping her fingers around it the way you might with someone very old or very young. It's just tea, he said. Regular. I didn't know if elves had preferences. Lyra looked down at the mug. Steam curled upward, catching the firelight. Something cracked open in her chest, something she had kept sealed for a very long time. We do, she whispered. But this is perfect. She told him slowly, in pieces, what had happened. The crossing. The elder. The slammed door at number 14. Ethan listened without interrupting, without pity, without the performative horror people sometimes put on to seem like they cared before changing the subject. He just listened. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. "You can stay here," he said finally. "There's a room. It's small, but it's warm. Stay until you figure out your next step." Lyra stared at him. "You don't know me." "You were sitting in a blizzard," he said. "I know enough." That night, for the first time in months, Lyra did not sleep sitting upright with one eye open. She lay in the small guest room with its quilt that smelled like cedar and its window that looked out onto the snow-covered yard, and she felt, for the first time since the crossing, that she was not a problem to be solved or a creature to be feared. She was simply a person in a warm room. In the morning, Ethan made eggs. She taught him how to say thank you in the old elf tongue. He mispronounced it terribly and she laughed, a real laugh, small and surprised, like a light she hadn't known was still working. It was the beginning of something neither of them had planned. Not a rescue. Not a fairy tale. Just two people, different as winter and fire, choosing, against all the cold the world had shown them, to let each other in. And outside, the snow kept falling. But inside number 17, Creston Lane, it was warm.